Well, right now, we are starting the home stretch of the 2020 campaign with President Trump formally accepting his party's nomination last night. Election date just a little more than 2 months away. I sat down with Democratic Vice Presidential Nominee Senator Kamala Harris Thursday afternoon for a wide-ranging conversation on the issues facing Americans in this unique presidential election year. And we started with the Jacob Blake case, the man shot 7 times by police in Wisconsin. As I understand, you've talked to Jacob Blake's family.
Yes.
Yeah. What was that conversation like?
First of all, his family, they're really wonderful and extraordinary people. They have suffered so much. You know, he has 6 children. 3, his sons, who the eldest it was his 8th birthday that day, right? And so it was a family conversation, and it was his sister, his father, his mother, and they're just full of grace and pain, right? That's coexisting for them. And I talked again with his mother, but Joe was so good with them, you know. Joe Biden, he has had conversations with Jacob's family, with Mr. Blake's family. He has had conversations with Mr. Floyd's family, with Ahmaud Arbery's family. And he sees them, you know, and they need to be seen. They need to be heard. And I think that's the important thing about these conversations.
As a former prosecutor and someone who worked closely with police for years,
yeah.
Based on what you've seen, what you know about the case, is there a scenario in which that officer would have been was justified in firing his weapon?
Craig, I don't see it, but I don't have all the evidence. You know, from what I saw, which is what the public is seeing, so, you know, I'm not the prosecutor in the case. I don't have all the evidence, but, you know, the man was going to his car. He didn't appear to be armed. And if he was not armed, the use of force that was 7 bullets coming out of a gun at close range in the back of the man, I don't see how anybody could reason that that was justifiable.
Do you think the officer should be charged?
I think that there should be a thorough investigation, and based on what I've seen, it seems that the officer should be charged.
To those who are saying right now across this country, and there are a lot of folks who are saying, here's a man who wouldn't follow police commands. Law enforcement tried to use a taser, and then he apparently is reaching into a car where a knife was later found. And because of those reasons, we should reserve judgment, and the officer should be afforded due process. What would you say to those people who are saying that?
Everyone should be afforded due process. I agree with that completely. That is absolutely one of the important tenets of our system of justice. But here's the thing. In America, we know these cases keep happening. And we have had too many black men in America who have been the subject of this kind of conduct. And many of whom have lost their lives, and we speak their names all the time. Again, George Floyd. I mean, just as the most recent, most public example of this. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Listen, there are still 2 forms of justice in America. We have to be honest about that, right? I work in the United States Senate. Right across the street from my office is the Supreme Court of the United States. You know, as a college student at Howard University, I would walk by that building. The majestic nature of it. Thurgood Marshall was in there. Had he not decided Brown v. Board of Education, I wouldn't be here right now, right? And etched in that marble, equal justice under law, as a tenet, as an ideal of our system of justice. But we know that's still not the case in America. And it is still the case in America that there is a profound need for reform of our criminal justice system and our policing systems, so that it will not be a death sentence It will not be a sentence of being paralyzed potentially for the rest of your life because you are a black man in America.
Republicans have made law and order a central theme of the campaign. They're holding up the violent part of the protests in Kenosha, in Portland, in Seattle, in Minneapolis. They're holding these up as examples of what this country would look like if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were to be elected. Last night we heard Vice President Pence say people would not be safe in Joe Biden's America. A few hours ago, I heard the Vice President Biden, I heard him say that the president was rooting for more violence. He thought President Trump was rooting for more violence. How does more violence help the president politically?
I mean, I can't look. You're gonna have to ask Kellyanne Conway or somebody. I don't know, but that's not my deal to figure out his political strategy. But I will say this about the Republican convention, some of which I have watched. I have yet to see these people who profess to be national leaders speak about this issue of the killing of unarmed black men, brown men, indigenous men in our country. I have yet to see them speak about it. And this is a moment, we are 2 months practically, a little bit more, away from an election to decide who will become the next president of the United States, while we are in the midst of at least 4 crises. And the American people, regardless of race or gender or age or geographic location, have a right to believe that their leaders will speak truth, even when these are difficult truths to speak and to hear. And we're not seeing that in the Republican National Convention. We're not seeing that from the people who say that they should be leading our country from today into the future in the midst of these crises.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.